in this session, but the whole thing is being recorded and it will be uploaded into Schoology so you can refer back to it. In addition, this presentation will be available to you in Schoology as well as soon as I unpublish, or as soon as I publish it to make it available to you. So you can either just view it in Schoology or you can make a copy for yourself and have it in your Google Drive. But like I said, it is a lot of information, and I'm going to go as slowly as I can so that we can be as thorough we can in such a limited time. Google says equity in education begins with access. Every student deserves a quality education with the tools they need to explore, discover, create, and achieve their full potential. Chromebooks help extend and expand the modern learning experience to more students, including those with disabilities and diverse approaches to learning. In classrooms around the world, Chromebooks are connecting students to the information they need in the way they need to experience it with the tools they need to do their best. When we think of accessibility, our minds often automatically just go to equitable access to internet. Well, it's so much more than that, and our kids have a lot of accessibility features at their fingertips. Some of those features are using a learning management system. So to make learning accessible to students, we have to know how to manage a learning management system, shortened down to LMS. Right now, our district is using Schoology and Google Classroom. And the way that using those makes learning accessible is that everything is in one place. And so students and parents alike know where to go to access the work for their students. Clever is a single sign-on, kind of like a house for safe external sites. And then there are also apps that our school district has purchased that are in Clever. You can go to Clever to find iStation, to find MobiMax, Google Drive. So once your students are logged into Clever, they have access to so much and they don't have to continue having to sign in. Learning how to use and build a Google site is a great place to keep external links where you want your students to access often. For many of our students in our school district, there are different learning abilities and different capabilities physically. Adaptive technologies for special needs would be very helpful for a lot of these students. However, they're really expensive. So I linked a page to funding opportunities for parents and teachers here. When you have time, I encourage you to go through it if you have students who need to have adaptive tools for their learning. Our district purchased Nearpod for us last summer. And within Nearpod, there is built-in immersive reader. So what that means is that if you have a page and it needs to be read to the student, they click on a little speaker icon and it reads it to them. In Nearpod, you have to go ahead and enable it. So to do that, you go to Nearpod, and then you sign in using your Fort Smith Public Schools account. So you would sign in through Google. My computer has decided to be slow. It's my Chromebook, but I have to use it for this session, so I'm sorry about that. Once you're in Nearpod on your dashboard, this is my library. Once you're here, in the upper right-hand corner, there's a profile. Yours might just be a little person with your name under it. I changed mine to a picture. So you click on that, and then you click on Manage Nearpod Account. Then over on the left-hand panel, you click on Advanced. And then the very top option is Enable Immersive Reader. So to do that, you just select it when it turns blue and says that it's on. That means your immersive reader is on, and then it will work when you create open-ended questions, polls, draw it, matching pairs, quiz, and Nearpod created slides. Eden or I will be going through these later in the week. She and I are both running sessions. Screencastify is another tool that I know many teachers used while we were in our emergency remote learning situation. Screencastify can record offline. Mr. Pena is going to go more deeply into Screencastify later this week. I believe it's Mr. Pena. It may be Jeff, but I think it's Mr. Pena. But with it, you don't have to be online to record. You just have to be online for it to process. So you can record everything on your screen that you want, and then once you reconnect to the internet, then it processes and will be saved into your drive, or you can send it to YouTube, wherever you want it to go. Our school district is a Google school district. We use Chromebooks. Our email is Gmail with our own domain to it. So we are a Google Apps for Education school district. With Google Apps, there are features to accommodate students who don't have the ability to work online. And the way that's done is that you go to File. So if you create a lesson and you want it to be available to your students offline, you go to File, and then you click on Make Available Offline. I have already made this slideshow available offline, but that is always a feature that's available under File. Now, the thing about this is that you create the lesson, you create the activity, then you make it available offline, and then you put it in Google Classroom or Schoology for your students to access. They have to be online to access it. Once they've opened it, it will open in a Chrome tab. So a tab like this. This is a Chrome tab. They have to leave it open. They can't close it because if they're offline. Because if they're offline, it will not sync to their Google Drive, and their Google Drive is a cloud. So until they're back online, it will not save to their drive. I've recorded a Screencastify video over here on the right, and like I said, this will be available to you after this session is over. If you want to watch it, there is no audio. I'm just showing you that I'm online. I've gone to Google Classroom, I've opened an assignment, and then I turned off the Wi-Fi, and then I did the assignment. I went back and turned on Wi-Fi, and I uploaded the assignment, or I turned in the assignment on Google Classroom. So it's just a video to show you how the process works. There are some people who have not experienced the success with this feature that I have. I can tell you that in my experience, my personal experience on a student Chromebook, is that I've never had an issue with it. I'm in my last semester of grad school, and on Friday, my husband and I drove to Memphis. I wrote a paper while we were driving. I was offline. When I got to my friend's house and got onto her Wi-Fi, everything synced into my drive, and I uploaded my assignment. So for me, I've never had an issue. But it's because it's because of two reasons. The first reason is I know not to close out the browser tab. So that's the biggest thing. The other thing is that if you and your students don't clear out your cookies and your saved cache, your computer will run out of space. Also, if you're not teaching your students to clean up their Google Drive, it will run out of space too. It does not have unlimited space. So to clear the cache and cookies, up in the right-hand corner of Google Chrome, this is any Google Chrome, not just Chromebooks, Google Chrome, you click on the three little dots, and then you click on More Tools, and then you click on Browsing Data, and it takes you into Settings. And then this box pops up, and you can choose what you want to clear. I see that I have cookies from 385 sites. I see that I have cached images and files that equal up to 188 megabytes. So I do need to clear my data. I'm not going to do it while we're on here though. I'm going to wait until we're finished. So that's something that's very important to teach your students, that they've got to keep that clear. You know, when you go to a website, it says, we're using cookies. Do you accept this? Well, when you say yes, that means that you're collecting those cookies in your web browser, in your cloud. So you've got to go in and you've got to clear those out sometimes. So by doing that, your students will continue to have more room on it, more of their disk space. Other accommodation support built into Google Docs and in Chromebooks and Google Apps are verbal and written accommodations. So there is a dictation feature found in accessibility. It's a speech to text feature that makes it easy to write, type, or speak your content onto the screen. And I'm going to show you where this is. I'm going to show you two different places to access accessibility features. One place is to click down by your time in the bottom right-hand corner and then click on accessibility. When you click on that, many features pop up. We won't have time to go through each one of them today, but I do hope that you play with these on your Chromebook and you also show your students where they are. Another place to turn on your accessibility features is you click down by your time, you go to the settings widget, and then you have to scroll down to advanced. You can find advanced in two places. It's either in the left-hand panel or it's all the way down at the bottom. And then you click on accessibility, or underneath accessibility, you click on the little arrow that arrows over to the right. And here you can enable or disable any of those features that you want. On your Chromebook, if you've never done this before, your accessibility features shortcut may not show up until after you've done that the first time. So the way that dictation works is you go to accessibility features, you click on dictation to turn it on, and then you have to, when you're ready for it to dictate what you're saying, you have to click on the little microphone that's now in your toolbar, and then you tell it what to say. And it's going to add it wherever your cursor is, period. When you're finished dictating, you just turn off the little microphone, and then I can disable that in accessibility features. This also works in a Google Doc. Voice typing is free dictation. It's a free dictation tool for Google Docs and Google Slides. In Google Slides, it is under Tools, and both of them is under Tools, and then Voice Type. This will only type it inside the speaker notes box. So when you enable it, this little microphone pops up. You click on it to record. And then when you're finished, you click on it again to make it stop, and then you X out. You'll also see that in Google Slides and Google Docs, there is an accessibility tab. And when you click on that, you have lots of different options. So I would play with that as much as you can and teach this to your students who may need some special accommodations. In a Google Doc, it's the same thing. Voice typing is found under Tools. So you click on Tools, Voice typing. You turn the microphone on, and then you dictate what you want to be typed on your Google Doc. When you're finished, you stop recording, and then you X out of the microphone. There are also translation features inside Google Docs. And I should have just let that doc open. I forgot I was doing this next. It's also found under Tools. And if you saw that just pop up, it said syncing offline changes. Just a minute ago, when I was showing you the changes that were made from my voice typing, I had a surge in my Wi-Fi and my Chromebook stopped having internet. And so once it was back on, it said syncing changes. So my changes that I did while I was offline, and you can see it now, just changed or just updated. So under Tools, you can go to Translate Document. So if you typed a document in English, but you need to get it to parents who speak only Spanish, you can change it to Spanish and then translate. It's going to open it up in a new document instead of translating your original document, so you don't have to go back and retranslate it. I'm not saying that this is perfect. I don't read or speak Spanish very well. I'm definitely not fluent, but this is better than I could do on my own. Also inside Chromebooks, you can change your language inside the system, and you do that by going to Settings. So I'm going to click down by my time, click on my Settings widget. I'm going to go to Advanced, Languages and Input. And here I have already added Spanish. If I wanted to add a different language, I would just click on Add Languages and choose the languages that I want to add. If I wanted my system to show in Spanish, I would click on the 3 dots on the right-hand side for more actions. I would check the box, and then I would have to restart my Chromebook for it to be active. It wouldn't just automatically change everything. So now I'm going to keep it in English so that I can read it. And then Google Translate is also an option that's free for us. Again, it's not going to be perfect. Using Google Translate, you can type what you want it to say, or you can speak it. So I'm going to start with English, and I want it to translate it to Spanish. So I just want to say a few things and to let it be translated to Spanish. And now I want to stop. Now I can share this by clicking on Share Translation, and then I can click on Email, and it's going to send me to my email. Also, I could have just copied it into an email or into a text if I had wanted to. So my message is here. I would just type who I wanted it to go to, and then what the subject is. Okay, we'll give it time to shut. Also built into Chromebooks are visual accommodations. There's high contrast mode. There are some students who have visual needs where they need the contrast in their Chromebook to change. To change it, you go to Accessibility, High Contrast, and it changes it like this. Y'all, if you're elementary, you're going to have a kindergartner who accidentally does this. All you have to do is go to Accessibility and uncheck it, and it goes back to normal. The same thing happens with the on-screen keyboard. They won't know how to get it off of there. So just remember that that is in your accessibility. So all you have to do is turn it off. There's also a full screen magnifier, and it magnifies everything. What's scary about this is that it's kind of hard to find that bottom right-hand corner again. But just remember that it is there, and you just have to disable it when your students accidentally enable it. There's also a docked magnifier. And what it does is it keeps the magnification up top. So whatever your cursor is going over in the bottom, then it magnifies it at the top. The problem with it is that it's not a very good resolution. It's not super easy to see, but if you need things enlarged, it works. It gets the job done. And then also you can highlight your mouse cursor, and I'm sure you guys have seen your students do this. And it is all the way down. You can have a large mouse cursor. You can have highlighted text caret, highlight mouse cursor. And you do that. It has the little circle around it so that you can see. This is really a really good presentation tool. So if you're wanting your students to focus on something that you're showing them, this is a good tool to turn on. Remember that you're not going to break it. If you go in here and you're clicking on these, they can unclick. Anything you do can be undone. You're not going to break it by going in and pushing buttons and playing with it. And if you get stuck, you just holler at me and I'll walk you through it. Another feature that you can turn on in settings is the customizable font size. And to do that, you go to Settings and then Advanced and then Accessibility. So, oops, Settings. And then I am already in my accessibility. And then I need to scroll down under Display. And here is where I can open my appearance settings. And then I can customize my fonts. I can change my font size. So if I have a student who needs a very large font, I can teach that student to change their font to very large. And then if you wanted to customize fonts, you would just click on Customize Fonts, and you could change your font from standard to whatever you want it to be. That pesky email still doesn't want to close out. Also built into Chromebooks are screen readers. Chromebox enables people with vision impairments to use the Chrome operating system. You can enable inaccessibility by going to Accessibility and then Chromebox, or you can click Control-Alt-Z and it also activates it. So when Chromebox is being used, it tells exactly where you're clicking on your screen, and it reads it to you, and it immediately activates, and it'll read the entire screen, or it will read where you're clicking. It is very robot-y though. Select to speak is a text to speech. It doesn't activate unless the request is made, and it only reads highlighted areas. It benefits students who need text read aloud, and it's enabled in the accessibility features. It works on most websites, including docs, slides, forms, and most PDFs. So to activate that or to enable it, you click on Accessibility and then select to speak. So once it's enabled, it docks down at the bottom toolbar. And so I select what I want it to read to me. And then I click the speaker to turn it on. Okay, maybe I'm doing this backwards. There we go. Oh.
Requested only reads highlighted areas. Benefits students who need text read aloud. Enable in accessibility settings. Works on most websites, including docs, slides, forms, and most PDFs.
And while it's also a little robot-y, using it, the students can select what they want read to them. We've already talked about some of the accessibility features in Google Docs. We've talked about voice typing and accessibility settings, but we have not talked about the dictionary. Inside a Google Doc, and also in Google Slides, there's a dictionary. In Google Docs, you also have a personal dictionary. So you can add those specialized words that that Google Docs may not recognize as being part of the English language. A lot of times that falls under when it's a name. To find those, you go to Tools, and then you go to Dictionary, and this is the dictionary that allows you to look up words to get the meaning, the part of speech, and the pronunciation. Oops, I did not mean to click on word count, but word count is there. So inside spelling and grammar, students can check spelling and grammar. They can select to have show spelling suggestions turned on, show grammar suggestions turned on, And here is where their personal dictionary is. So they need to add those specialized words. They click on that, and then they can add a new word. Also found in all Google apps, so in Google Docs, in Sheets, in Slides, and maybe in Forms, but I can't remember. I'll have to look at that. There's the option of exploring the web. So they could click Explore down here at the bottom right, or they can go to Tools, Explore, and this will let a student or yourself search your drive, search another Google Doc, or search the web. When students are searching the web this way, it's an automatic safe search. Also, the photographs, they're the images that come up, have no copyright restrictions. They are free to use. So if we were researching technology, then this would take me to the web. And I would have all of these different resources. And when I click on it, it's going to open up and take me into a new tab. And like I said, that is Google Safe Search. So your students should not be taken to anything that is not school appropriate when they're searching the web through the Explore function. And so these are some of the free images that are available. And Jeff is going to go more into this in his session later this week. So I'm going to leave the rest for him. The only thing that we have not talked about yet in Google Apps is how to record and insert audio. There are a lot of different free sites where you can record yourself and then upload it into or insert it into a Google slide. I like to use Online Voice Recorder because it's really simple to use, and it also lets you clip out any unwanted noise or silent spaces. So to use it, you just click on the microphone and you record what you want to say. To end that recording, you click on the recording button again. If you needed to pause, you could pause and then go back to it later. So you click on it, and then it lets you drag. You can preview it by listening here. And then it lets you drag all those parts that you don't want in your recording and clip them out. When you're finished, you click Save. If you are on a Chromebook, this will automatically save to your Google Drive. If you're on a Windows computer or laptop, this will go to your hard drive on that computer, and then you'll have to upload it into your Google Drive. And that's something that Eden will cover later this week. So now I need to change my sharing settings in my drive, because right now that audio file is only available for me to hear. I have to make it available to others before it will work in my slide. My recording showed up right here, but if it wasn't there, I could just click on Recent and it would be here. I always rename anything in my drive so that I can keep it organized. So I right click, rename, and then TA2. You see, this is an MP3 audio file. MP4s also work in Google Drive. Web MPs do, or in Google Slides, Web MPs do not work in Google Slides. So that's important. If you're ever trying to put some or insert some audio, make sure that you have the right file type. Then you click OK. So I've renamed it. Now I need to change the sharing settings. I can do that by clicking on the link icon. This has looked a little different now. It used to look different than this. They've changed it. So normally it begins with restricted. If you change it to Fort Smith Public Schools, that lets anybody in Fort Smith Public Schools have the ability to search and find something that's in your drive. And it's not that I'm trying to hide anything, but I always change mine to anyone with the link, because if I changed it to Fort Smith Public Schools and someone did a drive search for MP3, that audio file will show up for them. And then that's just a lot of clutter for them. They need to be able to find just their own things. So I change it to anyone with the link and then click done. And I make sure that it's a viewer, but this audio, it doesn't really matter. And then I can insert the audio into my slide. And I do that by going to insert, audio. My new file is not there, so I'm going to click on recent, as I named it TA2. There it is. So I click on that, click select. It'll create the audio. It takes it a couple of seconds. And now you see the audio has been added at the bottom. This is a great feature. If your students need to read something and you know they may not have the ability to read on that level, you can read it, record it, and add it to a slide. And the last couple of things that I want to talk about, and then we're going to take some time for just some discussion because I know this was a lot, is the color that we use. The University of Southern California said to make sure to use color strategically. We already know that in our classrooms, but it's really important to make sure that we're doing that on documents, on the sites that we're creating, on slides, etc. Because there are some students who are affected negatively by color. So we need to make sure that we're using the color that promotes calmness, because our frustrations are high in this setting, not just for us, but for students too. And they may be in a situation where school was the only place that they felt calm. So we need to make sure that we're not adding to their stress level. Also very important for accommodations and accessibility is providing animated and visual scenes as often as possible. You can do this using Google Slides, Nearpod, YouTube videos. You can record your lessons using Screencastify, Flipgrid. You can use the camera feature on your Chromebook or laptop. You can use BrainPop, MobiMax, and Jamboard, as well as Seesaw. Seesaw is only appropriate for K to 7th grade. And then Boom Cards and Lalo Phonics are great for kindergarten through 2nd grade. I know one of the big things right now is, how do you teach a kindergartner to read online? How do you do that? Well, Lalo Phonics is a free service. It's a free resource, and it's a great phonics tool. So if you're a K2 teacher, I highly recommend that you check that out. I had 3 teachers who used it last year because I asked them to, and they loved it. And they thought they felt like their students were a little bit ahead of the game when we went into the remote learning situation. And then last but not least, one of the best ways to accommodate your students is to make sure that you have those relationships built with the parents, guardians, caregivers, and you've trained them to know what their children are supposed to do. If you need help doing this, please ask your technology integration specialist to help you plan a training session for parents, guardians, and caregivers. We would love to help you do that. Also, you can schedule a Zoom session. You can record the Zoom and provide it to parents and guardians and caregivers for them to refer back to. You can walk parents through everything the students will be expected to do. Also, you can use Screencastify to record your screen for parents to be able to see exactly what their students are supposed to do. You can utilize tutorials found on the Fort Smith Public Schools remote learning site, and then there are also YouTube videos that are free and accessible to us all. And that is the end of the accessibility, equity, and inclusion for all session. I would love to answer your questions and get any feedback that you have for me.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
When you clicked on in the bottom right-hand corner where your time is, I still can't find my accessibility button. I went in and I highlighted the blue, like you said, but it's still not showing up on my Chromebook as a shortcut.
So you'll need to go through the settings widget for the first time. So by the power button, there's that little gear, settings gear.
Yes.
Click on that, and that's going to take you into your settings.
Okay.
And then you will go to, I got to look at it to talk through it.
Okay.
Chromebook, Dana, Chromebook, not other computer. Okay, so you go through your gear, and then that's going to take you into settings, and then you need to, inside settings, click on advanced. You can either find that on the left-hand side, or you can scroll all the way down to the bottom.
Yeah, I found it.
Okay, and then scroll down and you'll see accessibility, the accessibility section. It's under printing.
I see it.
Okay, do you see where it says always show accessibility options in the system menu?
I do, and it's clicked blue.
It is click blue. Okay, good. And now underneath that, it says manage accessibility features.
Okay.
All right, so it should be, after you've done this one time, it should show up as an icon in your tools. I know I had to do that on my Chromebook too. It wasn't showing up like it did on the students, and I wanted to know why, so I just started playing with it.
Now, in that manage accessibility features, there's nothing else on mine that's checked. Should it be that way?
Yeah, it should be that way. You would have to, because do you see text to speech and display and all that, and keyboard and text?
Yes.
Okay, good. So yeah.
All that's off.
Okay, yeah, all of it's off. So unless you need it, then you don't have to turn it on. That is the other way to get there. But now that you've done that, it should be in when you click by the time. Now that you've done that once, it should be there.
I'm going to X out. I guess I'm not seeing it. What would the icon look like? It would say accessibility, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it's just a little person. It's a little white person with like
there it is. I see it now.
There? Yay!
I did. Yay! I had to enlarge my little screen there.
Awesome.
Okay, super.
That is good news. All right. Anything else? Miss Clark, how are you feeling?
I was following along with Miss Tuttle there, and so I now also see the little person that says accessibility. So that's great.
Perfect. Perfect. I've never seen a student Chromebook where we had to go in and do that before, but just in case it's not there for a student Chromebook, those are the steps to follow to help them get there.
Well, now that I know this is here, it's going to help my kids a whole lot. I didn't know it was available.
Ms. Clark, that makes me feel so happy. You have no idea how good that makes me feel.
Oh, it makes me feel great too.
Awesome. All right. Does anybody else have anything? So this, like I said, this is going to be in Schoology. Also in Schoology, there is a slide deck for you guys to give feedback. Please give me your honest feedback, because I want to be the very best that I can be doing this. And if there's something that I need to do differently, please let me know. I love how Abby typed up everything in the chat box. I'll save all of that and also put it inside Schoology. So you have the notes, you'll have the video, and you'll have the presentation so that you can go back to it as you need it. So.
And where is that in to make comments?
It's in Schoology. It's called, let me pull it up. It's called Feedback on Level 1 Sessions, and I am publishing it right now. So you should be able to, when you refresh your Schoology page and go back in, you should be able to see a link for Feedback on Level 1 Sessions. And
Okay.
you should also, I'm going to publish this. You should also now have access to this session. And I have not uploaded the recording yet, but I'll do that as soon as we're finished.